May we please have roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Scott Bunk,
Present.
Councilmember Liz Silva,
Present.
Councilmember Lorraine Worthy,
Present.
Councilmember Maria Orozco.
Present.
Mayor Jose Rio.
Present. All righty. Business from the public not on the agenda. Any member of the public may address the council agency for a period not to exceed 3 minutes on any subject not on the agenda. The council agency will listen to all communications, but may take no action. Wow. I thought the room would be packed. Okay, seeing no one running to the podium. Then I'll ask if we have anybody on Zoom.
We don't have anybody in Zoom.
Great. Mary, any comments via email?
No comments via email.
Okay. All right, we'll close that subject up and go on to the consent agenda. I hope you've all had an opportunity to review that. It's kind of a long consent agenda. So if there's any questions or items that need to be pulled, I have one question, but I'll wait for the rest of the council. Or any member of the public wishing to pull an item off the consent agenda.
Not here.
Are we good?
Nothing to pull, just, the spell check.
Okay.
On page 20.
I got that too. So do you want to let staff know what that spell check was?
I could just get this thing to stay still for a second. We do the what? It is the year, I'm trying to, it's on,
There's also one where it says center and I believe with an S rather than a C.
oh, I didn't see that one, but this one is.
Sorry, and I
Page
didn't.
24, paragraph 3. Vista Lucia specific plan should be December 28th, 2023. Instead of 2024. Oh. Yeah, we're back in the future. And I'm sorry, I didn't have my microphone. That was what I saw. I didn't see the other one.
Okay, and well, I'll find it and I'll let staff know at a later date.
Okay.
I had a question on the warrants list, warrant 49621 in the amount of $4,380. Is that an actual membership to Jim?
Oh. You want to take that one off? The gem. Oh, no.
Skimmed over that today. I didn't see that on the warrant list. The state wellness grant, given to every municipality in the state of California for officer wellness. Part of that was part of the wellness, part of that is a year membership paid for through that grant. For officers to go, be healthy and work out and relieve stress and bulk up on the muscle and things like that. So that's what that cost us.
Okay, and so that was purchased or bought with a grant that we
Yeah,
received?
proceeds. Yeah.
Okay, just a question in case I'm asked, why are we paying for pre-gym memberships?
Right.
I'd rather be ready for the answer. Okay, other than that, I have no further questions and if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to regular council agenda. Electronic billboard presentation. Staff report.
Yeah, thank you. Stella, could you fire up the PowerPoint? We're going much too fast, so I'm gonna have to speak really slowly. Okay. No, thank you. Tonight I'd like to follow up on questions shared by the council about a year ago regarding electronic billboard signs. And you may ask, why such a long time since staff has come back? Well, initially, we had two properties kind of selected and looked at that were in the PF Public Facilities District that the city owned. And following the council meeting that night, and even some of those questions, we learned that from our sign company representative who was here that night, that Caltrans wants such signs to be in a commercial or industrial district. And so that disqualified those two signs. And it took a while for us to look around and find another city property. But with that, speaking to the delay in that, the first two sites weren't available, just by the code, we've been proceeding along. So I have a small presentation that just outlines the staff report that's in front of you. So thank you. Next slide. We'll be looking today for the council to provide direction on whether we continue exploring the idea of installing an electronic billboard on city property adjacent to Highway 101. The next slide and the way the report's organized is some of the initial questions were, what's the city's liability for, allowing these kinds of signs? What about concerns for residential light and nuisance? Can they withstand the wind that blows through here? Concern on size and how it would look in the context of Gonzales itself. And what are other cities' experiences and what does revenue look like? So those are the brief headings here, and we'll move through them. So just on the next slide here, the city liability for allowing this kind of sign, there was shared with us was an FHA report that determined that while the signs do catch your attention, they don't catch your attention so much as to distract you from your job at hand, which is driving. And basically, the analysis was that as a driver is scanning just so much of the environment, moving trucks, things that aren't moving, things that should be moving or whatever, that, okay, there's a sign and it's doing this, but not so much as to distract drivers, according to that matrix. And there's a 4-page little summary as an attachment here. And also that built into these contracts nationwide and from the sign company's perspective and also from the city is indemnification. That includes general provisions and general commercial liability, premises insurance, as well as even not necessarily by name, but by position, naming that the city manager, city staff, and those persons involved in permitting such signs are not liable or going to be sued. With the indemnification being held by the sign company. Next slide, please. Can they withstand the wind? Well, they're going to have to. Such signs do have a big sign face and can catch the wind. And there are engineering codes and standards in building structures that, it must withstand the winds. So the answer is yes. Next, please. And so one of the concerns, and I'm sorry, I could not edit the sign size. I have a little repeat there at the top there, but not trying to stutter. But yeah, what would such a sign look like? So the top 3 images are signs that are different styles, but also part of what does it look like kind of pulls from the bottom 2 images, which are the context of visual simulations. How would it look in Gonzales? So once we get a company that wants to come forward, we kind of like the design. We're going to see that it's, placed hypothetically into a landscape, almost like my opening slide. So we can kind of get a comfort with what we'd be getting. And that would absolutely need to be to scale. It won't be cartoons like this is what 60 feet looks like at this distance placed right here. So that'll be helpful for us. Next slide, please. Yeah, other cities, we got on one of these information boards. I think Patrick helped me where some cities help and share information with each other. And the city of Folsom and the city of Bell Gardens both responded to the city of Gonzales here and shared some contracts that they have with their billboard companies, shared some of their experiences. Some of these cities have, like Bell Gardens, many billboards for many years. And now here's this electronic one. So one of the negotiations they deal with is like, we'll give you an electronic one if you take down 20 of these others. And they get it in writing and they get these contracts and these agreements. So that doesn't really pertain to us, but it was helpful to have other players in other cities. And the staff report even includes direct phone numbers or emails should anybody have a question, or if I need another resource. And both cities acknowledged that revenue could be lucrative, and shared some of that standard language should we decide to proceed. So that kind of goes into the next slide, please, which is, what does revenue look like? Well, there's numerous ways that may be employed. You know, a single time payment could be agreed to. This is considering if it's on city property, not at one of the wineries or one of our industrial properties. It might be that we agree to annual, monthly, or quarterly rent for the use of the land. But in many cases, and in the case of City of Bell and Bell Gardens and the other city, they negotiated revenue sharing. And even some, you know, bottoms. If we don't get to this amount, you're gonna pay this amount. So there's room for negotiation, and these signs do generate revenue. And so just kind of finishing up with the next two slides before maybe taking questions. Next slide, please. Is I just want to share some final notes. So where I kind of opened was that, you know, the initial two locations where those blue arrows you see on the left side would be the, you know, visibility to the north on the left one, and on the right would be the visibility, you know, coming up from the south. Well, those two properties are out of play. But the image on the right is, there's a star there, and it's kind of in front of the Constellation Winery in that open space there. But we have a detention basin of about 6 acres, and it's got a lip and an edge on it that could present a place for access and a firm sign, and they'd have to run utilities to it. But it could be a city-owned site that, if we chose to lease, would have highway and freeway visibility. And it's also pretty removed from existing houses. So across the freeway, you see the land use designation for the infamous Diorigo piece, but it's still in crops right now. There's not even a house right there. So that's a city site that the city could consider a proposal on if we go from there. And so one more slide here is, and I just wanted to let you know that right now, the zoning code is just not built to allow such a sign. And so we would need to kind of get under the hood and find the right language. And actually through, you know, discussions with Mr. Smith of Legacy Signs, who was here, kind of got some language from other cities. And it's not going to be such a big mountain to climb if someone requests changes to the zoning code that would allow such a sign, and then follows that up with a proposal to build a sign. And we would go into lease agreements and things like that. So I just wanted to let you know that it's not a cold start, but it's still, you know, when you have to mess with the code, you know, it gets kind of, some of those codes reach into other sections. So we'd have to follow that up. But an applicant could, should the city council be willing to entertain such a sign moving forward, we'd be kind of getting into the zoning code and with some language there. And it would be paid for by the applicant to turn those gears at City Hall for their end. And just, is there one more slide? Yeah, just some of the alternatives that I laid out right there is maybe the city council is not interested in changing the City of Gonzales sign ordinance to allow such signs on private property. That could be one of your determinations. Or the other one is like, hey, you think it's a really great idea, and maybe we should have a few of these, and maybe entitle in some other areas. Those are just alternatives. It's not necessarily staff's recommendation. And the last side is that the potential here is for this to be revenue positive. Right, because after we just, you know, covered the cost exactly on development review, my time charged against the deposit account, which would have us come out to zero. Then if we do enter into a lease, however it is, there's potential for revenue there. So I'd like to conclude and have the council maybe speak to any of these issues if they find the answer insufficient or you like it, and advise us on whether to continue or, you know, entertain this path, and let folks know that we might be willing for a freestanding electronic billboard. That's what I have to offer, and no more. Concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
question. We did entertain this, like you said, about a year ago to have a discussion about it. Placement is obviously the most important part of this, I think, because again, I know all of us were concerned about it affecting the
One more
neighborhoods
slide.
around the area. The other question I had was, do you have any idea approximately how much revenue is generated from these type of signs?
You know, the examples I have were from very urban areas, right? Bell Gardens. Could you turn one more slide, please, Estella? So I'm not sure that those are indicative, and they kind of came in packages where they were reviewing 6 electronic billboards at a time, but they're getting rid of 50. So I had some numbers in there.
Was it in your report?
You know, I didn't really, maybe Carter would
Probably
like
not,
to
yeah.
speak to it because it's location, and context, and maybe the value of outdoor advertising, a little different along our stretch of 101 than the Los Angeles 101.
Yeah, it's all gonna depend on how we negotiate the contract, whether it's a revenue sharing or whether it's a upfront payment. Initially, when we came to you about a year ago, we thought an upfront payment would be good, and that was upwards of a few $100,000. But again, it just depends on what would be most beneficial for the city, and we need time to look at that, again, because of the location, but also some of our neighboring cities are also looking at this. And so, you know, the costs would obviously be somewhere in line, but we would have to negotiate again. So we just need to hear from the council if that is something that you would like us to pursue or not, but we don't have those real numbers just yet because of a lot of the factors that are gonna play into it.
But some of the language I have seen was, at a minimum, you will pay the city this base or, you know, X%, 30% of the revenue through the sign, whichever is more. So there are things like that. So if you have a base like that, it might be that we able to really start counting on something budget wise.
Thank you.
Through the chair, you also can negotiate as part of the compensation package, the amount of city usage of the sign per fleet. So that's another factor that comes into play. So I've seen the package where you get a base amount, you get to use 15% of the sign for city events and notices and things like that. And then sometimes there's a revenue sharing component as well, but that's another factor in the whole mix.
Well, right now, if it's okay with everyone, I go ahead and open up to the public for public. Oh, you have a question? Okay, go ahead.
I was waiting.
Sorry, I
That's okay.
apologize.
That's okay. I have a question with regards to a statement you made early on your presentation, and that is, why does Caltrans have a restriction on where these can be placed?
You know, I learned that from Mr. Scott Smith, who I see has joined us here in the gallery. And this report right here is not necessarily on behalf of Legacy Signs. It was on behalf of answering questions for the council. Shared with him that we're coming tonight. He's volunteered his presence here. And maybe he can speak more directly to the Caltrans aspect.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Would that be okay? Or, excuse me, through the chair,
Go ahead.
through the mayor.
Good to see everyone again. Thanks for having me. The question about the Caltrans permitting, some cities, as a matter of fact, have seen that as kind of a very interesting and good question as well, because they feel that Caltrans kind of comes in and overly controls what the city can and cannot do within their own city. But it's mostly like a zoning thing for Caltrans. They want to have some controls over where the signs are located, just to mostly control, you know, where the signs are located for, you know, keep them away from, say, intersections where there could be safety hazards, or other sensitive areas such as environmentally sensitive areas. But Caltrans does have their restrictions that they put in place, and the first 2 locations, as Tavin mentioned, as we kind of went down that road and did some preliminary exploration on those sites, we realized those sites were not developable.
Because that was city property, right? On the northbound lane
Yeah,
side?
the first 2 proposals were on city, and this one is also, the site we're looking at now that I've done my little visual knockoff sim is city property, 6 acres.
But that's just one site on the south end over here, correct?
Correct.
Nothing on the north end.
Not as of yet. And so, so there's a process that the sign company would need to go through to get a permit from Caltrans, and that's where it comes into play, that the permitting requires, what type of designation again is commercial,
Industrial.
Oh, and it
industrial?
has to be away from schools? Is that another, was that another 2,500 feet from school?
Not per the Caltrans regulations.
Oh, okay.
But as a kind of a practical restriction that I think most cities put into place is you want to keep them away from schools or other sensitive receptors.
I think because on the top of my head, I'm thinking on the north end, on the other side of our high school football stadium. It's slough. I mean, there's nothing there. Yeah. Across the highway from where it was initially proposed, come over on this side, so it's more over by the school farm. I mean, I don't know if that's something that you
It's
want
always
to.
kind of the debate, right? Can you get the sign out there and give someone enough chance to get off the freeway and come into town and spend money? Or is the really good sign past the last exit?
Well, you were gonna have one just across the highway, so I don't see what the difference is. It was gonna attract your northbound traffic, so just a thought.
Well, and I think that Caltrans is looking at it from also a safety perspective. Is it a sign that's gonna, get drivers distracted to the point where they're gonna end up, especially if you come down north, there's kind of a turn in the roadway, and I've seen a couple that have, cars that have landed up in the middle of the median because either they
That's
were
already
long
busy,
asleep.
busy area. Yeah.
They didn't
Yeah.
even have a sign to get distracted.
Yeah, and so the sign is just gonna add to that. I mean, think about it. We had to go with Caltrans for a permit to put signage on the off ramps
Yeah.
to tell vehicles, large vehicles, they couldn't use Fifth Street. How long did that take?
Too long.
Too long. Not sure they're even up yet,
Thank you.
but I understand Caltrans' point of view. I really do. All right, I'll go ahead and open this up to the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item may do so at this time.
Rosa Rodriguez, 307 Ayrshire Way. I think it's a good sign. I mean, I think it's a good thing and to have an electronic billboard. And the reason for that is, I'm sorry, but our website needs to be updated and we've been waiting forever and ever. And by the time I go in there, it takes me forever. I would rather see something on an electronic sign. Plus, we're going into the technology age and whatnot. So I think we have to keep our residents informed. We don't have a lot of mailers in our with our water bills. We really, the kiosks, I don't know, they're from, I don't know how long, at the police department, at the pharmacy, they used to be at the schools. It's all outdated. We used to have Maury Trelevan update everything for us. And I mean, I know short-staffed and overworked and, I understand that, but I think this would be kind of like a solution, a partial solution anyways. And I know everybody's concerned about making sure people, the CHP of people not crashing out there. And, but I mean, we have the winery, like placing it like before, the last exit, go to our winery or come to Luigi's, or, we have a lot of, I mean, we have, it's a, how can I say, it? We have still a small town charm. And I mean, we have a lot of, I like it here. Believe me, I came from Los Angeles and I was really happy to be in Los Angeles. But, but it's nice to be like in a small town. And again, we have a lot of issues with loose dogs, loose cats, loose everywhere. And, people need to be educated. And I'm at the point where I think I'm getting, my blood pressure go up because this is not the town where I grew up in. I see the culture of health prices, not to bring anybody down, but I came here when I was 12 years old. And we had a whole lot of things with Sarah Papineau, with I can't remember her name, but she was the director of Public Works. And I mean, we had so many other things. I was so happy at the holiday event and at the Halloween. And we need more community stuff. Everybody is bored sick since COVID. I mean, we don't have a lot of stuff to do in Gonzales. We're still waiting for the community center and we don't have a lot of information out there. We have a park, we're waiting on that meeting, from, I saw there's an improvement with the sidewalks and stuff, but as a resident, I mean, we're not really, there's a lack of communication between the city and the residents. And we've been waiting since I don't know how long for the Mayor Park meeting. And it's like communication, if it wasn't for Ms. Orozco, it's like I'm calling her 24/7 or Ms. Worthy or, or Carmen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Again, see no one rushing the podium. I'll go overhead and ask Estella, do we have anyone via Zoom?
No comment.
Mary, any comments via email?
No comments via email.
All righty. We'll close the public meeting and bring it back to council discussion. I'll start with Ms. Orozco. Do you want to make any comments on this, Orozco?
No, I just think that, well, not a whole lot of comment, but I do definitely think that it would be a good opportunity for us to showcase some of the things that we're doing, as was mentioned, people coming and passing through can stop and eat and shop and go to some of our restaurants, but more importantly, I think also in hopes that it would generate some funds that are badly needed for our city.
Mr. Funk?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Since we've, it was brought to us, I've paid more attention to electronic signs up and down the state, and they're, they are throughout the state, and it would be good use, and obviously it's finding the right spot, and the spot you're looking at right now could potentially could work out. My concern before was on the safety side, so as long as we address that, and it looks like that would be potentially good, and so anyhow, yeah, I'm good to move forward.
Ms. Silva?
I too agree that it would be a great advantage for Gonzales. I liked it when they first presented it to us, and I still like it. I just wish there was 2 signs, but I guess one can do better than none. Thank you.
Okay.
I concur with my colleagues. I think it's a great idea. I thought it was a great idea when it was first brought to us, so.
Well, I do have just some concerns, and that is, the size. I definitely don't want something, Las Vegas style. I mean, I think that'd be an overkill for a community this size. I do like the idea that we'd get some advertising time on there, like, the next upcoming car show or the wine festival or the things that in the center of town here that happen. So that would be nice to advertise it. Maybe we'll get some more out of town visitors that once they're here, they'll discover, oh, they got a great Italian restaurant. Oh, look at the Mexican restaurant over here, and, whatever else. And the 4th Street Tap, I think, would, obviously be a good generation source. And obviously those are tax dollars, which in turn come back to the city. I would definitely like to see a shared revenue. I think that would work best for us, because if, I think a one-time payment, we don't know what they're gonna make. And that one-time payment might be peanuts. When you look at their overall revenue, we don't know how successful it's gonna be, and I'll share in that risk better than what we're getting now. And so I'd rather share in the risk and as well ask for some time on that board for specific festivities and items that happen in our community. I'm thinking of the La Gloria Craft Fair. Every year, those janitors to the school go out and hang signs all over town. Wouldn't it be nice just to have one nice, well-lit sign? It would save a lot of people a lot of time. That's just one idea, but I'm sure that Ms. Rodriguez will come up with some more, so I appreciate that. So it sounds like you got consensus from the council. Do you need a motion to act on this?
I think that's sufficient, but what I want to acknowledge what it is that, we're expressing, council's expressing a willingness to get into the sign code. And so if Legacy Signs is the first at the door with the proposal, that's it, but we're not exclusive to them. Another sign company may want a proposal as well, just to be fair. But Yeah, you haven't said, no, our sign code is sacrosanct, don't touch it, we like it the way it is. You're not expressing that here today. And so,
Well, in that vein, I'd also like you to investigate it is if we do open that can, does it become really unworkable once we agree to something?
well, here's what's interesting is because it takes a legislative action to change the zoning code. It's not going to be just at staff level at the planning commission. It has to come to you for an action.
Okay.
For you to see some of the policy. I would expect that we build in, design parameters, percentage of public display of noticing. You know, if you're shy on advertisers, fill it in with the city stuff. You know, those types of things. That we have a minimum base on revenue sharing. So we can build all those things into a new sign ordinance that allows electronic reader boards. So we can write the rules.
Okay. Sounds like you get consensus from council, so move forward, please.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Moving on. We're done with the regular agenda item, and next is the Gonzales Youth Council updates. I'm sorry, I can't see who from the Youth Council will be. Hey, okay, Aaliyah?
Yeah, our ambassador Liz had sent out a doc reporting the growth that the youth council has had. Also, side note, apologies for the last, I have allergies. So, but with the youth council, we've made an amazing amount of growth from our ambassadors and our newly ambassador roles growing into their position, and everyone establishing their role, what they do with the youth council, what's the difference between an ambassador and a commissioner, is a surreal moment for that opportunity, as well as spreading the word with other youth councils. We are currently in the hands of opening a position in April to expand from Soledad and Greenfield. So it will be expanding there from, this will be the first time a collaboration with Soledad and Greenfield. It gave an inspiration for them to open one of their own youth councils. So this was a big moment for them and also us. We are also working with our action projects, our tenants, and our prevention to alcohol and drug addiction. One of our Emily Mendez is in the directs of working with Chief Musio, as well as working a week's hands in one of our high school. We have each events that will be specific to the students to make sure that they're active and they're consuming the information that we feel is important to establish. And that is our
Update. Thank you. Thank you very much. Moving on with the agenda. We have League of Cities, Monterey Bay Division. I don't really have anything to report. Does anyone else have anything to report on League of Cities? Anyone? Okay.
Well, some of us are going to be attending Academy next week.
So are you two will be representing?
Yes.
Okay, great. Anyone else gonna go to that?
No.
All right, moving on, AMBAG, Association of Monterey Bay Area Governments.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Council, we did have a meeting here a couple days, last Wednesday, and the main item, the agenda item, was on the regional forecast. So the regional forecast was accepted, and so now the next steps are to move forward with working with the cities and jurisdictions direct. Staff will get numbers to bring back to us in the next 2 months, and so we'll find out what the forecasted numbers are, which is different than the RENA numbers, but at the end of the day, it's another set of numbers that's agreed to at the state level and so forth, and impacts mostly the transportation agencies and so forth in respect to how money's funded or how money will serve. So
Did our numbers change, Mr. Funk?
haven't seen the official yet, but I would it's forecasted, so it's instead of the RENA, which is the state dictating, how much the region should grow by, which is based on, based on the actual, what the regional agencies assume is going to happen based on, all current factors. And the biggest factor is, was obviously with COVID and so forth, and with a lot of people leaving the state in the last few years, the state actually, reduced and our region reduced. And so that being said, and we have a number of things to get into, everything from, birth rates are down, et cetera. So we went from, slightly increasing to a big dip down, and now there's a new baseline to go back up again. So if you were to look at our forecasts 4 years ago, you'd have thought we were at, going to be at a certain point, and now we're almost at a new place and, climbing again. So we did look, the staff did look at, like 8 different methodologies for forecasts, and it's funny because it's like a shotgun. It's all over the place on where we're going to be. And so, the region could grow by, by as little as 2 to 3% over the next, 20 years, or it can grow 15 to 16%. So it's but there's a lot of factors going to play, like obviously a region like ours with the coast and so forth. And but anyhow, it's a process they go through every 4 years. And so and they said they set a new benchmark. Unlike RENA, these numbers, not that it don't mean anything, but they don't dictate, funding per se, in respect to, or tie in the hands of the city and so forth. The city has to, I know we have the one element we have to turn to the state and so forth. The forecast doesn't tie into that, so it's not going to dictate another set of rules. It just helps the transportation agencies, so forth, determine how funds should be spent and so forth, and how quickly, areas will be impacted. So,
Thank you.
Mhm.
MSD.
It's kind of interesting what Scott said, because one of the things that we are facing currently is the fact that our numbers aren't where they were pre-COVID.
Yep.
They're slowly sliding in the upward position, but it's still taking a lot of time. And then we have different things, different elements that are contributing. One of them being that they want us to be at zero emissions by the year 2030. And they want us to really start purchasing these buses by 2026. One of the things that was discussed at the last meeting is the fact that we're looking at purchasing 12 of these zero emission buses, which is over $12 million. As you all know, we're at a, $6 billion deficit currently in the state of California. So it had been brought up at this meeting that because our finances are not in great shape, are we going to be able to do this? And many people that were sitting at that table from every city locally all said, no, we don't feel that that's going to happen by 2030. More and more, there are things that are coming out about these batteries that they are not necessarily working properly. If it gets too cold, then you can't repair them. So that's an issue that we had a large discussion about. And there are many people that are bucking the system at this point. So I think we're seeing it with the cars as well. As many of you probably heard about Hertz, they're trying to sell a bunch of their electric Teslas. So this is an issue that's of great concern, and we still don't have enough drivers. We're still 16 drivers short. They are trying to give incentives where they hire, and if you stay with them for so long, they'll give you another bonus. So that's an area that we have been discussing. The Better Bus Network, which was implemented in December, is still an issue. Our city in particular, along with Soledad, we're still working on our circulators. And hopefully we'll get that resolved this year, where we'll have a bus that can circulate the city throughout the day, which will be great for our students and some of our residents that are disabled. One thing I will say is MST locally, Monterey Salinas Transit, is at the forefront of everything that's going on in California and nationwide. They continue to be recognized as one of the strongest agencies around. They're always on the forefront. And I just wanted to give a shout out, this is the last thing I'm going to say, is the employees of the year this year were two gentlemen, Jacob Newman, who's a communication specialist, and Omar Wilson, who's a coach operator. In October of 2023, Omar recognized that there was a person in his bus that was not doing well. And he knew that there was a real problem. So he contacted his communication specialist. They were able to figure out what to do with this person on the bus, the rider. They actually saved this person's life. And I want to say that that person was on 23, which was our bus for South County. And I can't emphasize enough how great these drivers are for MST. They really have to know medical things. They recognize when there's a problem. They've saved, there was a little girl that was walking by herself one day and they pulled over. I mean, these are the kinds of things, people think that you get on a bus and you just go from point A to point B. That's not what happens a lot of the time. A lot of time, we know of kids who get Wi-Fi on the buses because they can't get Wi-Fi. So I just want to point out that there are a lot of agencies that we all deal with, and this agency is top notch. I can't say enough about MST. So we continue as we go along. Thank you.
Ms. Worthy, I have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
Because I see the little bus around town on a regular basis. It's the microbus.
Mhm.
And as you know, I like to walk around town and there's a number of locations where I just see it parked. And I'm curious as why, if it's parked, why, I know it's a special bus to
Like
drive people
appointments.
to
Yeah.
medical appointments, but I'm not sure that there's that much of a need for that in this community. Because I really don't see it working as often. And so what my question to you would be was, is there a possibility that while there is, say there's no cost for them, could in fact go around our community as a bus that could be utilized by children or seniors or anybody that needs to get from this side of town to that side of town? Is that a possibility?
I think that that's the direction that they're going in.
Oh.
They want to have a bus that's going to do that. Currently, the on-call bus is what you're talking about that you see sometimes. I notice it too, like over by the park, it's just parked there for a while. That is an issue that I've had a conversation with them about, but I think that once we get these circulators going, that will be the bus that they will use. They will have a couple of buses that they'll be using, one to go out on call and another one to circulate the city. That's what we're looking for.
Because I don't think we really need one of those huge buses.
No, they're gonna be the small buses.
Right.
Those are the ones that we're gonna be utilizing within the city. I will say that Carl definitely has a concern too. Does he, because I asked him this too. I'm hoping that we're gonna have enough people that are going to want to utilize that bus within city limits. He said if they don't, then they probably won't be able to continue utilizing the small bus. So it's definitely an issue, and I agree with you on that, but we're hoping that we're gonna be able, Carmen, you may know, I
Yeah.
mean, do we have an answer with, because I know that Patrick and Carmen
Yes.
have been meeting with Vince from MSD.
Yes, my understanding is that the on-call bus is too costly to operate. And it doesn't make sense to MST, from what I recall, to have it only do the on-call service. So that's the response, is to have the circulator in place of that, so that it's, the goal is to have the circulator go, all in spots all around town every 30 to 45 minutes. So that there's, somewhere where it's less than a 5-minute walk for every person in Gonzales, so that they can utilize the bus and get to a central location that then would take them to their destination. So that's what they are considering. And we have been working with MSC staff, and they've been really accommodating. We've driven the route. We've, taken everything into consideration in terms of ideal locations for stopping for
Yeah,
including
we've
these
got like
additional stops.
20 different stops or
Mhm.
something that you guys.
I believe
come
it's
up with.
13 different stops
Yeah.
all throughout town.
Yeah.
So, that, again, that's their solution to that issue is to make sure that it does get utilized, and because of the cost.
Right, and again, to emphasize what Carmen just said, it is always going to be a small bus. It will never be one of the large ones. That was one of the questions that we had too when we first started talking about it, so.
Yeah, I just want to mention that I do know someone who uses the bus, and she will be here very upset if she doesn't have that service that she
Of
currently
course.
uses, because that's her only mode of
I know who you're
transportation.
talking about. too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, I mean, we may not see them using it, but there are, some folks that do use it, and that's her only source of transportation. And I noticed that there is a child who uses the bus from Fairview, and he gets dropped off over by where we live, in my area, and if I'm not mistaken, this child doesn't qualify, it doesn't qualify for a driver from the school to take them, so this is the mode of transportation that they use. Like my grandson, for example, he would not be able to get on a regular bus because of the noise and just being around all that noise, so of course, grandma has to pick him up, but that's okay. But so, there are different folks who do use it for different purposes, so.
So it's not open for public comment.
Anyway, just wanted to mention
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
You can't,
At the beginning,
can't-
at the beginning, Ms. Rodriguez, I apologize. Sounds good. All right, moving on to oral communications. Mr. Roscoe, do you want to start off? for
Yes,
us?
just really quick. I hope everybody had a great holiday, and I certainly look forward to 2024 and moving forward with all of our projects and programs that we have pending. And once again, I would like to thank all of our staff for all the hard work that they do to ensure that our residents and our business owners are receiving all the necessary services that they do need. I also want to thank staff for the donation of the coats for the children. Many of the parents were very much appreciated having received those coats. And also a special thanks to the fire department in Monica for the diaper distribution day that they had. Many of our families were able to pick up diapers on that day. And sometimes, we get these donations and it's a quick, let's hand them out. So I'm glad that we're able to do that. I also, Chief Weiss, want to thank Officer Rivera for his assistance and assisting the family whose car was hit on Recon Road. And they very much appreciate the outreach efforts of the police officer. So I know we've had a couple of accidents on Rincon, I think within a week or two, just cars that were being hit. And again, it's such a narrow street, and I know we can't make it a one-way street, but at some point, we're gonna have to maybe take a look at what can be done, because it's, the cars now are the big trucks, and I take that road when I have to pick up the kids, and I always just think, oh my God, I hope I don't get hit, but it's a challenge. And on a sad note, I'd like to express condolences to Lisette de Leon and her family for the loss of her younger brother. Lisette was one of our community health workers, and her brother passed away while on vacation in Mexico. He attended Fairview Middle School, played with the Gonzalez Knights, and his parents are from our sister city of Atepozco. So he was buried in Mexico, but they will have a memorial service for him, I believe, on Saturday here in Gonzalez. So that's it for me.
Mr. Funk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and yeah, I'd like to did a lot of the thoughts and comments from Maria in respect to appreciation for the staff and all the hard work they do and everything they do to keep the city running, and all the preparedness we do for the storms, and obviously this is not last year, but I know we're ready and set for that, and everything our law enforcement does and keeping the city safe and sound. And on a personal note, I do want to pass on, I'd be remiss, my wife, she would get on me if I didn't. I know she's already reached out to the Chief Muscio, but thank you to you and your staff for everything you guys do, and having the firehouse, someone at the firehouse 24/7 works that well. My father-in-law came in from the living outside the on River Road and so forth in the middle of the night, and you guys kept him alive, and so thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you, sir. Is that all, sir?
Yep.
Okay. Ms. Silva.
Just, I want to express my condolences also to the De Leon family for their loss. And as I reported earlier, Lorraine and I will be attending the League of California Cities Academy in Monterey next Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I believe Carmen will also be there. It's for council members and city managers and mayors, I believe. So it's local, so we're gonna have a staycation over there. Also, Monterey County Ag Education always has Farm Day 3 times a year. Next Thursday, January 25th, it will be held in King City, and I believe schools from Gonzales will be attending. Those are 3rd graders. They teach them a myriad of things with regards to agriculture, everything from seeds to tractors and harvesters, everything in between. So it's real exciting. If there's anybody that would like to volunteer their time, please let me know, and I can pass your name and information on to Candy DePaul. She is a coordinator and executive director. I've been helping them for years, but unfortunately, I cannot do King City because I'll be in Monterey. And also, I'm also excited for the new year, new beginnings, and let's make it a great year. And I'm looking forward to the groundbreaking ceremony of the Caprera Community Center in April.
Ms. Worthy.
I too would like to thank the staff, especially for some of the help that they've helped us out with a little bit at the American Legion. It's greatly appreciated. And Happy New Year to everyone. I too would like to express my condolences. Such a sad story. And let's just make it a good year. That's all we can do. Let's all try to help each other. And I noticed that there's many people out there pulling weeds and cleaning up their yards. So let's all keep that up because we all have to work together. Thank you.
Boy, I'm gonna feel like a real heel because I've got a lot of things and questions for staff, and unfortunately, Mr. Dobbs isn't here this evening. So I would like to get an update on the sidewalk repairs because there's a number in town that are pretty much tripping hazards. And I'm saying it out, Michael, because you've seen the size of the lifts of the sidewalks, and I'm sure someone takes a mean fall, they're probably gonna look at our deep pocket and say, how much can we get? So I'm really concerned about those sidewalk repairs. Speaking to that, 4th Street has become a minefield. For as short a time as that asphalt has been in place, it's worse than 1st Street, and that's our first priority. Is there something that we could do about 4th Street? That's kind of our main drag, and that's where we have a lot of the festivities. And they're starting to become major tripping hazards. I know that I don't drive, my wife drives through there. It's like, I missed that one, dear, missed that one. And the weather's not made it any better. So I definitely would like to see Public Works come up with a plan. And as part of that plan, I know I've asked for it from the first years that I was here, asked for, and have never yet received. I'd like to see a list of priorities in streets because that, I don't know about you guys, but I get asked about that all the time. Which streets are you guys going to repair? When are they be repaired? I mean, I don't want it, and granted, I don't need to have, yes, it's going to happen on this date, I just need a list of what streets, what's the priority in repairing streets? Which ones? Which are the worst? And moved on. And if someone asks me, well, why is my street not there? Well, I could actually say, look, there's this street that's worse, this street that's worse, this street that's worse. Oh, I'm sorry, you're number 15. I can't help that. That's just the way the potholes go. The other thing, and I did not get a chance to ask, but I understand that King City is using their Safe Routes to School money to do sidewalk repair because that kind of is an obvious. So maybe when we get our funds from TAMSI, that we could use some of those funds to make the necessary repairs, because any kid that's walking to school is probably walking on a sidewalk, crossing people's line, but that's another story. But if we can get those sidewalks repaired so that kids aren't tripping or falling, that'd be amazing. I really would appreciate that. Let me see, what else did I have? Finally, I just wanted to say and start the new year, hopefully the right way, is congratulate two of our long-term employees, and I'll let them say the years if they choose to, but it's 30 plus. Michael Rodriguez, our city attorney, is working on 30 plus years. Chief Weiss, I believe you're also a 30-year plus. I want to just thank you both for your long-term tenure here and appreciate your service and your dedication to this community. And I'm sure I speak for the rest of the council. We couldn't do it without both of you. So appreciate it. 2024 hopefully will be a great year when we get that community center started building, and what the youth council is doing to invigorate other communities. Awesome. Great. We're the leader and we're the smallest town in the city, in the county, or one of the smallest cities, I forget. It's been it's Sand City and Del Rey Oaks is much smaller than this. So they pointed that out at the mayor's meeting, that they're much smaller than we are. So that's all I have. I want to thank staff again for all their work, and then moving on to our city manager's report.
Yes, Happy New Year to everyone as well. Just wanted to point of clarification. The coats that were donated, I want to make sure we acknowledge they were donated from the Knights of Columbia from Selena's. I don't have the number, but the Madonna Church, so make sure they get, this is the third year they've done that, and they donated 48 coats. And so we definitely appreciate that donation, because our community really, can use them. So thank them for the work that they do every year to collect them and make the phone call to donate them to our town and choose us, because again, we appreciate it. So we had a very busy year last year, and we are gearing up for an even busier one this year. Staff's really starting to get excited about some of the events that we have forthcoming, and just to get them on your calendars as of now. We have April 13th will be our car show. April 27th is the groundbreaking for the community center. And then we have something also coming together in the first week of June for a wine festival. And it's really great to see staff that is leading, they're excited and they're leading the way on these events. So small but mighty staff working hard. And then the other thing I just want to point out, we are working in partnership with a lot of different folks, Blue Zones being one of them, Ecology Action Temps, Olinga, Wings of Knowledge as well. And we did get a few grant monies to actually work on our community garden. So they are busy partnering and working away on the community garden that will go next to the pool. You'll hear more about it as that transpires and gets activated. And then we are also starting a chair yoga. So we've got this partnership with Blue Zones, and it really is to bring in more senior programming to the community. So we've got a whole list of program opportunities. Alliance on Aging is even offering us ballroom dancing for senior citizens. So they've got a full program that we can tap into. So it's very exciting. I'm a little jealous because I want to participate too in some of these things, but I'm excited that we have these new these opportunities coming for our senior community. I think that's it for now. So you'll hear more. I just wanted to share my understanding of the TAMSI funds. There is a committee that is identifying projects. And so those $240,000, I believe it is, or $200,000 will be allocated or designated for the specific projects that committee chooses. So I'm hoping that once they get to a final list of opportunities to take on, they will come to the council for approval, because they have to come to the city anyway to ensure that we support whatever projects they're taking on. And we are speaking to them and collaborating with them but they have formed an advisory committee that is advising them on what projects to take on. And then just, we are looking at Fourth Street. We are looking to identify potential funding that can help us do some work on Fourth Street. And then constantly looking for other grants that can support some other sidewalk repairs.
Yeah, even if we did just the specific goals, you know, cut them out, fix them right, rather than trying to scrape things up and hot patches it. Hot patch is not gonna work. It's only gonna work as long as it doesn't rain, and that's, you know, this time of year, forget it. So I think, you know, a longer term fix would be to actually go in there, cut it, then hot patch it, do it the right way. That's my 2 cents, and I know that's not as cheap as the other way, but all we're gonna do is just keep spending and spending. Let's just fix it right the first go and hope it lasts a little more longer than it did the first go around. Because I am really saddened because there's really not a whole lot of heavy traffic down that street. You only see trucks and cars. You don't really see semis going down that street. And for that street to be in that condition at this point, I don't know who the inspector was on that one, but man, he was asleep at the wheel for sure. One last thing I wanted to comment, and I'll just let you guys marinate on this. I was approached by Mr. Zurita, a committee member who's very concerned about the fireworks. And Carmen and I have spoken, and I think that as a community, we need to probably be a little more aggressive. And now that we got a drone as well, I think the other thing that maybe should be discussed is possibly upping the fines. And if you guys think that might be a good idea, maybe putting together a fireworks committee made up of both pro fireworks, meaning pro safe works. And then obviously what we're trying to hit is the illegal ones. And Chief Musha definitely would definitely love to have you as part of that committee. But again, I want to have you guys think about it. Let's make no rush decisions. We still, July 4th is a ways away, but unfortunately, I was asleep at midnight, so I honestly did not hear the fireworks, but they said it was pretty fantastic New Year's Eve. So again, I tried, but 10:30, I'm like, oh man, I cannot watch anything else. I'm sleepy, and I was out.
And actually, today I had a lengthy conversation with someone who had the same concerns, and I actually mentioned that perhaps there should be a committee formed, but I would discuss that with the city manager and the mayor and get back to this
Okay.
individual. So it's
Well, it
something
sounds
that
like
we're
there's some
thinking.
movement on it.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty. Let me put my reading peepers here. The city council, I'm gonna read this the other way around and hope you're okay with the.
I think they said something.
Mr. Mayor, we have one more item and it's
Sorry.
pretty important. I skipped over it, but Tavin, can you please?
Just wanted to let you all know that our draft housing element public release was publicly released on Friday, the 12th, and it's going to run through February 12th. And it's, we've translated in Spanish and we have English posted to the website. There are flyers at the library, at the post office, and even the laundromats here. So
Awesome.
people can actually use the QR code and it goes right to our website.
Great, and I got the email. I'm sure the rest of you got that
And I
email.
tried to be as inclusive as I could to the largest employers, to our K committee, our planning commission, our city council, just to get the word out to tell other people, to the school district. And on Monday, the 22nd, we'll have a workshop here at the planning commission. I'm not gonna have a quorum, but we're not here to make a decision. So I wanted to not move the meeting. I'm gonna have 2 planning commissioners, but the public is welcome. And we'll have a live Spanish translation for Rosa and the neighbors that she might want to bring to the meeting to discuss our housing element.
Great. Thank you.
Question also, have we filled slots for, are we short planning commissioners and measure?
We are, and I had to revamp my announcement because I didn't have an end date on it. And so now I do for the end of this month to close the submittal for planning commissioner. Maybe you can speak to Measure K.
Ye-
Have we gotten any bites?
We've only received one application. That's why we've been kind of waiting and putting it out there just to make sure that everybody, who was interested. There was some folks who showed interest. So we wanted to give them enough time but what's the end date that we? You have that on?
No, I
Oh,
don't recall right now.
We are gonna be closing it,
It's within a week or two.
soon, because again, we've only had one application and we haven't received any others for the K. But folks were interested to doing another term, so.
We were speaking with planning commission. I don't know about K.
We have one application for K too. Yeah. Yes, only one on each, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna read this kind of backwards because we are going to adjourn the closed session, but so people that want to comment on this item know exactly what they're commenting on. The city council will recess to closed session to consider personnel matters pursuant to government code section 54957B1, city manager's evaluation. Go back over this side. So any member of the public who wishes to make comments regarding the closed session item may do so at this time. You again are limited to 3 minutes on the subject.
I did my exercise. I can't walk. Rosa Rodriguez, 307 Ayrshire Way. I know before when Carmen was appointed, I said, filling the shoes of a manager position, those are really big shoes. And it's not that I did say that I didn't think she would be able to fulfill, that position. But she has shown, that she has been, helping our city. And one of the things is, she's very accessible, just the same way that Renee was. Every time I have a question, because we have a lack of communication between our residents and kind of like the city, because our website hasn't been updated, and she explained, personnel is being overworked because we're short-staffed. I understand that. And when we've had, personally, when my family had an we're short on funds because we had an emergency. My husband lost his job. She was able to give us information as far as, what we needed to do in order to allocate some funds to help us through rough times. And believe me, I'm 50 years old and I'm not the type of person that asks for help. But this time, I had to, kind of swallow my ego and ask for help. And she was, she provided a lot of the information, and she's making the information accessible to the public when they go pay their water bill, as far as needing assistance to pay their, their PG&E. I forgot what it's called. Something for the PG&E or water bill, or where to get assistance, or when we have the COVID and where to make, get funds to get the, pay your, certain bills and so forth. And, I'm happy with the car show, and I'm happy with the collaboration with the, the holiday lights. And I know that it's not just one person. I know it's, it's a team effort, but you do need a leader to make sure that everything gets done. And, one thing that I would like to see more of is kind of have the, more, have her, and then have more people from the council here attend those holiday events. Because, Renee always attended to those events, and it's really important to have, that the manager, the city council at those events, so that they know that, you guys care. And, so every time that I need something, I call her, and she's very accessible. I know she's really, really busy. But she follows through, so I just wanted to say that she's, she's been doing a good job, and, I'm happy she's still here. Thank you.
And again, see no rush to the podium. I'll go ahead and ask Stella, do we have anyone via Zoom?
No comment.
Okay. Mary, any comments via?
No comments
email?
via email.
No comments. Okay. Then this council stands adjourned from the regular meeting, and we're adjourning to the closed session. I'll let everyone have a chance to vacate.